Hi everyone, this is Brad again. Apologies again for the call the other night. I couldn't actually share my screen. I think I've been able to resolve those issues now. So I'm just recording a quick video as promised to show you a quick peek of version 9. It will be very quick. We have a launch event happening. I think it's the 21st of November. The invites for that are going out in the next couple of days, and there'll be a whole bunch of speakers on there talking about different things, but one of the sessions will be a full overview of 9, so I suggest sort of you jump onto that. I'll be doing a little session on code mode, and there's a variety of other sessions as well, so hopefully you guys will be able to join that later in November. If you don't get the invites, please let me know. So a couple of things that I wanted to talk about in version 9. First and foremost is the canvas. So in Yellowfin today, in version 8 and before that, when you create a dashboard, you are limited to a number of preset layouts. And you can drag essentially basic report content into each of those slots in those preset layouts. What we've done in version 9 is we've created what we call the dashboard canvas. So, and I'll show you in a second how you create one, but I thought I might show you a finished product to start off with. And this is one that one of our designers here has created. We have a data set that shows sales of alcohol, actually, in one of the states in the US. It's a public data set. So he's taken some of that and analyzed it and built this dashboard. And I guess the first thing you'll notice is no longer are you sort of confined to a grid. You're able to freely place chart objects such as this one anywhere you like on the dashboard. So they don't have to fit into one of those pre-built slots anymore. But importantly, you can also add a whole bunch of other rich content as well. So in here we've got, for example, this navy blue background is a shape that the designer has dragged on. We've got text objects, we've got lines, we've got rich sort of images, and so on and so forth that have all been able to be added and arranged and styled directly onto the dashboard itself. And that styling can happen by editing the properties of that through the user interface, or actually via code if you have staff members who are skilled in being able to do that. As well as that, you can integrate buttons. So you can we have a number of sort of pre-built buttons out of the box that have pre-assigned actions. So, for example, you might use a button to jump to another tab or drill into a report, that type of thing. But you can also put your own code behind those buttons and make those buttons do anything. And I'll show you a quick example of that in code mode. So that's an example of a finished product. So to actually create a canvas, and I will just reiterate again, this is a beta. It's a late stage beta. So most of the features that we're building are now built into the beta. The stability is pretty good. As I mentioned, we've got about 6 to 8 weeks to go to finish everything off and to get all the testing done. We have a number of customers participating in the beta as well at this point. So from time to time there will be hopefully no bugs, but also there's some pages and things that still need to be styled, and this is an example of one of those. So you can see here this is kind of the legacy create dashboard pop-up. You can see the preset layouts that we used to have, but now also the canvas layout sitting here in the middle. If I select that one, now I get the canvas editor. And I can immediately sort of resize that to whatever size that I want. And I can do that. Most of the actions in Canvas I can do using drag and drop, but I can also access via a properties editor. Now, the properties editor is kind of always present here in the top of the screen. And whatever object that I select, the context of that properties editor changes, and I can directly sort of edit the properties of that object here and see the effect of that straight away. So if I wanted to, if I didn't want to drag and drop, the resizing of my, of my dashboard, and I had a predefined size that I wanted, say 1000 by 500, I can just edit that straight in here, and that takes immediate effect on the dashboard. So the type of content that I have available, as per usual, you can create subtabs. So I have the little subtab manager here on the side. I can have as many subtabs as I like, and I can add report content. One of the key differences with report content in version 8 and prior to version 8, you could only add a report once onto a dashboard. So if you did build a report that had multiple charts in it, you wanted those charts to appear in different places on the dashboard, you weren't able to do that. In version 9, we've removed that restriction, and you can place a report as many times as you like onto the dashboard and show the different charts and the table within that report. And behind the scenes, we're optimizing the access to the database to minimize the number of times we hit the database to get the data to support all those reports. The other thing that we have done in version 9 is the ability to show filters the way that we used to show them. So, for example, sliding out from the left side menu. But now, if you wanted to, you can actually drag filters and drop them directly onto the canvas and position them next to a report. So you're no longer limited to having them slide out from the side as we did in the past. As well, I have this sort of static elements that I can drag on. So I can drag on text. I can drag on a shape, for example, so to create the sort of boxes that we were looking at before. And I can edit the properties of all of those things. So every object that I place onto the canvas, as I click on it, you'll notice on the right-hand side here, the properties are changing. And I have a lot of options that I can configure. So with shapes, obviously things like colors. And when I am configuring colors, I can select those off the spectrum. I can type in the hexadecimal code or the name of that color if I know it, or I can use one of the sort of more commonly selected colors as well. So I'll just make that red. And then, there's I can configure borders. I can configure the exact location of those. So if you have a design that you're trying to build to that a designer perhaps has put together, and there's specific locations that you want objects to appear and colors and all that type of thing, that's all all controllable through here. You can create shadows and the directions of shadows, different border styles, etc. And these properties are available pretty much on every object that you drag on. And that's what you can use to create the type of effect that I showed in the dashboard that I showed at the start. And again, when you're working with the canvas, you can do things such as so selecting multiple objects. I can move objects together. I can access the right click, so I can cut and paste them, duplicate them. I can align things, so that they're properly aligned on the dashboard. I can rotate things, and then I can control the layering. So if I want to put something, for example, if I want this text or the shape to move to the back, I can arrange that and send it to the back so that my text is appearing at the front. So all those kind of sort of features that you get in a lot of sort of modern web design tools or graphical design tools, we've tried to bring those all into the product so that you can create those types of stunning dashboards that we saw at the start. Some of the other things you can do is drag on, for example, a code widget. So we did talk briefly the other night about code widgets. And a code widget is something that is coded sort of externally to Yellowfin and then imported through the plugin manager. But we actually ship out of the box with some of our own code widgets. So, for example, a signal list. So if you're a signals customer, you can drag on the signals widget, and then you can. Oops, I just opened the signal, so I'll just go back. So I can sort of configure the properties of that. I can define what signals I'm showing and the appearance of that widget. So that's a widget that one of our developers built. But you can also use code widget functionality to create your own. So if there was a particular type of object that you wanted to place onto the canvas, it could be a particular style of filter or a button or something like that. And you wanted that to be available as a standard item in the tool palette for all of your dashboard builders, you can build that and import that into the product and reuse that on any dashboard. We've also created or shipping out of the box with a number of buttons, and there's a number of different styles there that you can drag on those buttons. And when you configure the properties of that button, you can assign an action, and we've got some actions that we have out of the box that you can configure. For example, navigating between subtabs, or resetting filters, or drilling in and opening a report in full screen mode. But equally, with code mode, you could go in and actually put code behind those buttons to do anything that you wanted, and I'll show some of that shortly. The other thing that we are working on that's not currently merged up into this release is what we're calling quick charts or blueprints. And what that enables you to do is actually build a report directly on the canvas. So for example, if I wanted to build a pie chart, I can drag that on. Let's get this out of the way. I can select my view, and then I can configure my chart directly here on the dashboard. And that is a little bit of a difference from version 8 and previous versions in Yellowfin, where I actually have to go into the report builder, build my report, build all my charts, then exit the report builder, come into the dashboard builder, and then select those charts and drag them on. And if I want to make a change, then I need to go back into my report builder to do that. So what we tried to do is make that workflow a lot simpler. Now, the charts that you'll be able to build on the dashboard, you won't be able to configure sort of every type of chart and every option on the chart. So there's a lot of richness in our report builder. For example, you can build complex subqueries and filters and all that kind of stuff. You won't be able to do that here. But you will be able to create, the charts that probably fit sort of 80 to 90% of what most people try to do when they're building a chart. So that's a real efficiency. And if you did want to sort of punch through from here into the report builder to make a more complicated edit in this chart, you'll be able to do that directly from the dashboard. And then when you save that chart, it'll navigate you back to the dashboard from whence you came. So that's really, one of the key things at 9 we tried to do, as well as making the user interface sort of look more modern, was really looking at all of those key workflows where people were spending time and tried to eliminate as many clicks as possible out of that to make the whole process more efficient. The other thing quickly worth mentioning is the ability to drag a filter now onto the dashboard. So I'll just get rid of some of this content, take away some clutter. And if I add in a report as well. So now, in the past, I was sort of limited in terms of where I could actually put my filters, so I could have them slide out from the left or from the top and that type of thing. Now, if I wanted to, depending on my dashboard design, I can place a filter directly onto the canvas, and then I can add, the available filters from that particular report. If I have multiple reports, and I want to add a filter, and have that influence all of the reports, I can now automatically link those. In the past, you had to sort of manually wire all the reports into the filters, and now we have an option to auto-link. So where there's a common attribute across reports, if I add the filter in once, that filter now will automatically filter all of the reports on my dashboard that contain that field. And of course, we're restyling the filters and making them look a lot better out of the box as well. So that is Canvas, and as mentioned, you can create some pretty stunning looking things that were just simply not possible before in Yellowfin. So we're really excited about the possibilities of what can be done with Canvas. The other thing that I wanted to show very quickly was code mode. A lot of the customers of Yellowfin are actually software development companies themselves, or they're enterprises that have software developers in those companies as well. And whilst we provide a lot of functionality using drag and drop mode, we've had feedback over the years that especially from some of our development clients, that they just want to be able to get in there and code as well. So that's effectively what we've done with code mode. So I've got a little demo here where I've just got 2 little bits of text. And what each of those text does when I click on it is it just hides and shows basically a report. So I've been able to create a sort of a navigation experience that's not possible currently in Yellowfin. So I'll quickly, it's a very simple example, but I'll quickly show you how we did that. And that'll show you the features of code mode. The first thing to sort of point out is that code mode is something that's secured by a role function. So only those people in the organization whom you want to have access to it will have access to it. It's not something that's generally available to everybody out of the box. So that's a basic sort of security feature. But what you'll notice here at the top is I've got this visual mode and code mode. And if I flip into code mode, you'll essentially see the code available with the objects that I've previously dragged onto the screen. So if I drag on a yellowfin object, it could be a piece of text or a report. The HTML code for that is available, and I can see on the right here, sorry, on the left, all of the objects that I have on my dashboard. And as I hover over them, you can see that the hopefully in your video it will come through. The code for that is highlighted, in the code window over here. Now I can actually go in and change directly this code in here, and then flip back into visual mode and immediately see that change. So I don't need to sort of compile that or export it somewhere else. It's available. The two works together. And if I make a change in visual mode, flip back into code mode, I see those changes in here as well. The other thing that's really important is, with some of our competitors, they do support a code mode, but you actually have to learn their code, their language. And what we wanted to do was stick to the, to the languages that people know. So you'll notice that there's 3 windows across the top here, or 3 tabs. One is HTML, so this is all the HTML for all the visual components that you see on the dashboard, and it's all editable. If I wanted to create a new object there from scratch that didn't exist at all, I can simply type the HTML for that directly in here, flip back into visual mode, and see that object on my screen. We also have a JavaScript tab here. So if I wanted to define custom behavior on the dashboard, or write a new function, or access the Yellowfin JavaScript API to sort of control objects to get access, for example, to the underlying data in a report, I can do that via the JavaScript tab. And you see I've got some code here, which is actually is listening for click events on those text elements that I dragged on, and then executing the code to hide and show the various reports. And you can actually build in external library, or include external libraries here as well. So we're actually using jQuery here. So I've included jQuery, but equally if you're using things like React and all that, you can include that in here as well. And then finally, I can enter CSS for the elements that I've sort of manually added, or to style Yellowfin elements as well. So that's basically how code mode works. And I will quickly show you another demonstration that we've built. And one of the things that we think is going to be useful for clients is to actually connect up, or use code mode to connect up their dashboards to third-party applications. I've done a little demo here. This is looking at website data from our own website actually, and exit rates, and that's where a browser on a website leaves our website or closes their browser. So we're sort of interested in what pages they're doing that from. And I just made up a little demo here whereby I'm showing there's obviously some trends based on where those customers have come from, whether they've navigated directly to our site or used Google or Bing. And then I've included a little table which has the top site, so the highest exit rate. So 75% of people who go to the blog page are leaving the site thereafter. And what I might want to do is sort of click on one of those lines in my table and populate a form here, and then send a request to, for example, my design team to take a look at that page to see if there's anything they can do with the design to keep browsers on the site. Or there could be other reasons why people are leaving the site from that point. So what I've done here by clicking on a row here, I've got some custom objects that we've coded in code mode here, and these fields are being automatically populated as I click on the row. So, for example, if I wanted to click this row here, and then I've got a text box. So if I want to add some additional text, the design of this page as the exits high. My typing, great. And then what we've done behind the scenes is we've connected this up to our GitLab instance. So we can log a request in there that will sort of get automatically assigned to a designer that will go in and look at that. So I click on this button here. It's called my GitLab repository. So GitLab exposes a REST API. So we've hit that REST API, passed the detail from what we'd selected in the table, plus the user's comments. And then we've passed back from that a hyperlink to the issue and the issue number, and just to prove that it worked, if I click through onto that, hopefully GitLab will fire up, and you'll see that it's created an issue for me with the title that I put in, and there's the text that I put in my comment field. So it's a slightly made up example, but probably not an unrealistic example. This could be customer information. You might want to click on a customer and create a lead, for example, into Salesforce. It might be IT related system data. You might want to click on something and raise a ticket. But basically, the concept is that we're opening up the ability to embed new forms of content into a dashboard, and the ability to connect to third-party applications to make those dashboards a lot more action-oriented. And there's a whole bunch of code behind that that we've done, but we've basically just done that directly onto the dashboard. So one of the developers built that for me. That's just a very quick tour of Canvas and what's possible with Canvas and what's possible with code mode. I did want to talk briefly about multi-tab support. And we did talk about it the other night. I am going to send a much longer email discussing that. But essentially, in version 9, all of the pages that you see that end users are accessing to consume content are now sort of designed in a stateless way. So if I wanted to, for example, if I wanted to take this page and just fire up a new tab, I can have the report open as many times as I like. I can set filters in one, and then flipping to my other one, set a different filter. And they will sort of work independently. Now, for us to do this demo today in Thin 8, you might find that one of those windows picks up the filter settings from the other window, and that you're getting sort of inconsistent results from an end user perspective across those multi-tabs. So that behavior is gone. That now works out of the box. And this will be true for most of the content that end users consume. So things like stories, dashboards, and so forth. Sorry, I just had an issue with my display, so hopefully we are still recording. We are. What we haven't done is work that entirely through the product. So if you want, for example, the report builder itself, you have another window open, logged in as the same user. You will have, you potentially get errors when you try to submit forms from the different pages. They will interfere with each other. So you should be able to open the report builder in another window, logged in as the same user, and start doing things. When you flip back to the other window and try and do something, it will get confused in terms of state. Now that can easily be fixed just by refreshing that tab and reset the session settings in the back end. So it is possible to do, and I'll put that in my email. But it's not a fully stateless implementation. So we're having some discussions internally off the back of our discussion the other night as to sort of how we can fast track some support for that in a shorter amount of time. So I'll get back to guys on that very soon. So that sort of concludes the demo. I hope you found that useful. Please feel free to sort of email me through any questions, and happy to continue the conversation with you guys. And thank you very much.